Have you ever stopped to think about uh, what happens when AI runs out of data to learn from?
Mm.
You know, what if the internet, with all its cat videos and conspiracy theories, just isn't enough anymore?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question.
Yeah.
We're so used to AI needing a ton of data to function. I mean, think about those CAPI-TCHA tests,
Right.
proving we're not robots.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, AI needs that same kind of info, but on a massive scale.
Right.
And it's getting harder and harder to find.
Yeah. And that's a real problem that's emerging. In fact, Google's CEO Sundar Pichai actually talked about this back in December 2022
Oh,
at
wow.
the New York Times DealBook Summit. Um, And he actually warned that developers are running out of this freely available high-quality data to train AI.
Wow.
So, what happens when the well runs dry? You know?
Well, one solution that's gaining a lot of traction is synthetic data.
Okay.
And think of it like this. Instead of relying on data from the real world, AI starts generating its own learning material.
So AI is basically writing its own textbook.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's wild.
It might sound like something out of science fiction,
Yeah.
but the concept itself has been around for a while.
Really?
Yeah. Synthetic data actually has roots in statistics going all the way back to the 1960s.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this one technique called bootstrapping. It involves taking a small set of real data and using algorithms to basically extrapolate from it, creating more data that resembles that original set.
So it's like taking a tiny seed of information and growing a whole forest of data from it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm starting to get the picture.
Yeah.
But why is this becoming such a big deal now?
Well, there are a few factors at play here. First, we have growing concerns about privacy.
Right.
Access to real-world data sets is becoming more and more restricted
Yeah.
due to privacy laws and regulations.
Of course.
And Nick Sanchez, he's a senior solutions architect at Druid AI, put pretty bluntly, he said, there's a real fear of legal repercussions if you use real-world data without proper consent and permissions. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so synthetic data offers a way to sidestep those concerns.
Yeah, it's like creating a whole virtual world for AI to play in without bumping into any privacy issues.
Exactly.
Pretty clever. But what about the DeepSeek situation?
Yeah.
Wasn't that Chinese AI model accused of basically copying ChatGPT?
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
DeepSeek. It definitely caused quite a stir in the AI community.
Yeah.
The big concern was that it wasn't really learning from original data, but instead it was just mimicking ChatGPT's responses. It's like a student cheating on a test by copying someone else's answers instead of actually figuring things out for themselves.
Oh, yeah, that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
So even with synthetic data, we still need to be careful about how AI is learning, right?
Oh, yeah.
It can't just be regurgitating information. It needs to be genuinely learning and developing.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another really important point.
Okay.
Synthetic data isn't a perfect solution. It comes with its own set of risks.
Oh, such as? What could go wrong with AI making its own data? Well, the same Nick Sanchez we mentioned earlier, he also highlights a potential danger, the possibility of manipulation.
Okay.
Imagine someone with malicious intent creating synthetic data that's specifically designed to train AI for harmful purposes.
Okay, now that's a thought that keeps me up at night. AI trained to be bad. Not exactly the utopian future we were promised. So how do we prevent that? Is there a way to make sure that synthetic data is being used for good and not for evil?
Well, that's where a technology like blockchain could come into play. It has the potential to ensure the integrity of synthetic data.
Blockchain, the technology behind cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, exactly.
How does that fit into all of this?
Well, think of blockchain as a digital ledger. It records every transaction or change made to a piece of data, like a tamper-proof history book,
Okay.
that tracks the entire journey of that data.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So if we apply blockchain to synthetic data, we could have a clear record of how the data was created, who accessed it, and whether any modifications were made along the way.
Exactly. It's all about creating this level of transparency and accountability,
Right.
which is crucial when you're dealing with something as sensitive as AI training data.
Right.
But it's not about making the data unchanging, but rather ensuring that any changes made are transparent and traceable.
Okay, so blockchain acts as a sort of guardian for the synthetic data, making sure it stays true to its origins.
Yeah,
This is all getting pretty complex, but I think we're starting to connect the dots.
we are. We're seeing the emergence of a new paradigm in AI development where the lines between the real and the synthetic are beginning to blur.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're talking about AI generating its own learning material.
Yeah.
And now blockchain is being used to like track and verify the authenticity of that material.
Right.
It really is like building a whole new digital ecosystem for AI.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And one of the big issues with AI and data in general is knowing where it came from
Yeah.
and how it's been handled.
Yeah.
Was it ethically sourced? Has it been tampered with? These questions become even more critical with synthetic data because it's artificially generated.
Yeah, it's like trying to figure out the origins of a digital artifact.
Uh-huh.
You need to know its history to trust it, right?
Exactly. And blockchain can provide that digital chain of custody.
Okay.
Each step in the creation and modification of the data is recorded and time-stamped on the blockchain,
Right.
making it nearly impossible to alter the record without detection.
So going back to that scary scenario of AI being trained for malicious purposes, could blockchain help prevent that
Yeah,
by making it harder to manipulate the data used for training?
it could certainly make it more difficult and increase the chances of detecting any foul play.
Okay.
Remember, blockchain isn't about making data unchangeable, but rather about creating a transparent and auditable history of any changes made.
Okay. I'm starting to see how all the pieces fit together.
Yeah.
We've got this growing need for data to train AI, but traditional sources are becoming scarce or restricted due to privacy concerns. Synthetic data emerges as a potential solution. And then blockchain comes in to provide a layer of trust and accountability.
Precisely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this is really about laying the groundwork for responsible AI development.
Yeah.
As AI becomes more sophisticated and integrated into our lives, it's crucial that we have systems in place to ensure that it's being trained on data that is reliable and unbiased.
And that's where this whole conversation gets really interesting to me. We're not just talking about technical advancements. We're talking about the future of our society.
Right.
How will AI trained on synthetic data shape the world around us?
It's a question with far-reaching implications. Think about the potential impact on fields like healthcare,
Right.
finance, or even criminal justice. If AI is making decisions based on synthetic data, we need to be confident that the data is accurate and representative of the real world.
Otherwise, we risk creating AI systems that perpetuate existing biases or make decisions that are out of touch with reality. That's a sobering thought.
It is, but it also underscores the importance of ongoing research and development in this field.
Yeah.
We need to explore ways to ensure that synthetic data is not only plentiful, but also reliable and trustworthy.
And what about the role of humans in all of this? Will we eventually reach a point where AI is so advanced that it can create its own synthetic data train itself and evolve entirely independently of human intervention?
That's a question that has sparked countless debates and philosophical discussions. Some experts believe that it's only a matter of time before AI reaches a level of sophistication where it surpasses human capabilities in many areas.
Yeah. It's both exciting and a little unnerving to think about, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Like, what happens to our role in the world if AI becomes the dominant force in shaping the future?
It's a valid concern. But I believe that even as AI advances, there will always be a need for human ingenuity and oversight.
Yeah.
Humans bring a unique perspective, ethical considerations, and a deep understanding of the complexities of the real world that AI may struggle to replicate.
So it's not about humans versus AI, but rather about finding ways for humans and AI to collaborate and complement each other's strengths.
Precisely. The key is to ensure that AI development remains aligned with human values and goals. We need to be actively involved in shaping the future of AI, not just passively observing its evolution.
This has been a fascinating exploration. I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, I'm curious, what's one thing you think people should really take away from this conversation about AI and synthetic data?
I would say this: don't be afraid to ask questions. The world of AI is rapidly evolving, and it's essential that we approach it with a critical and discerning mind.
Yeah.
Don't just accept what you hear or read at face value. Dig deeper, explore different perspectives, and engage in conversations about the potential impact of AI on our lives.
That's excellent advice. Be curious, stay informed, and don't be afraid to challenge assumptions. I like it. And on that note, I think we should pause here and give you, dear listener, a moment to process all this information. We'll be back in a moment with a final thought that we hope will spark even more curiosity and exploration on your part. Okay, we're back. And we've been talking about AI needing more and more data to learn and grow. And we've explored how synthetic data might be the key to unlocking that next level of AI development. But here's a question to ponder as we wrap up our deep dive.
Okay.
What happens when the line between real and synthetic data becomes so blurred that we can't tell the difference anymore?
Oh, that's a thought-provoking question.
Yeah.
We're already seeing AI-generated images and videos that are so realistic.
Right.
Like, imagine a future where AI can create entire virtual worlds that are indistinguishable from reality.
It's like stepping into a simulation where everything looks and feels real, but it's all just been generated by AI.
Right.
It kind of makes you question what real even means anymore.
Exactly. And that raises some really interesting philosophical and ethical questions. Like, if we can't distinguish between what's real and what's artificial, how do we know what to trust?
Right.
How do we make informed decisions in a world where reality itself is potentially malleable?
It's like that old philosophical riddle. If a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it, does it make a sound?
Right.
But in this case, it's more like if an AI generates a piece of information
Yeah.
and no one can tell it's fake, does it even matter if it's real?
It's a real mind-bending concept,
Right.
but it's something that we need to start grappling with now as AI technology advances at such a rapid pace.
So what can we do to prepare for this future
Mm-hmm.
where the lines between real and synthetic are increasingly blurred? Is it all doom and gloom, or is there like a silver lining here?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily all doom and gloom. Remember, AI is a tool.
Hmm.
And like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill.
Right.
The key is to be aware of the potential risks and to develop strategies for mitigating them.
So what kind of strategies are we talking about?
Well, one crucial step is education.
Okay.
We need to teach people how to critically evaluate information in a digital age,
Uh-huh.
how to spot deepfakes, how to identify bias, how to discern fact from fiction when the lines are deliberately blurred.
It's like we need to develop a whole new set of digital literacy skills
Yeah.
to navigate this increasingly complex information landscape.
Absolutely. We also need to foster a culture of transparency and accountability in AI development.
Yeah.
We need to know how these systems are being trained, what data is being used, what steps are being taken to prevent bias and manipulation.
So it's about demanding more transparency from the companies and organizations that are creating and deploying AI.
Right.
Right, making sure they're not operating in a black box.
Precisely. And it's about fostering a public dialogue about the ethical implications of AI.
Yeah.
We need to have these open and honest conversations about the potential risks and benefits of this technology and how we can ensure that it's used in a way that aligns with human values.
It sounds like it's going to take a collective effort from, researchers, developers, policymakers, and just everyday citizens to navigate this new frontier of AI.
It absolutely will. The future of AI is not preordained. It's being shaped right now by the choices we make and the actions we take.
Right.
So let's be mindful of the potential risks, but also embrace the incredible opportunities that this technology presents.
Well said.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from the data drought to the rise of synthetic data and the role of blockchain in ensuring data integrity. But I think the most important takeaway is this. The future of AI is in our hands. We have a responsibility to shape it in a way that benefits humanity.
I couldn't agree more. This is a conversation that needs to continue, and it's a responsibility we all share.
Absolutely. And on that note, we're going to wrap up our deep dive into the world of AI and synthetic data. A huge thank you to our expert for guiding us through this fascinating landscape and sharing their insights.
It's been a pleasure.
And to you, dear listener, we hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and provided you with some food for thought. And if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by, the sheer scale and complexity of it all, don't worry, you're not alone. We're all figuring this out together. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay curious.